In today's video, we are going to be breaking down the original MF Blue Craw recipe. We're going to be showing you the 2 ingredients that are used to make it, the proper ratios, and a recipe and a formula of arguably an even better version of Blue Craw than this that you can make today. Let's get into it. What's going on, all my fellow bait truckers out there? My name is Michael. Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, today's video, we are going to be breaking down the original MF Blue Craw recipe. This is a color that is arguably and probably well more sought after than the original MF motor oil. And a few videos back, I promised y'all if we hit 500 likes on that video that we would break down the original Blue Craw recipe. Well, we got like 450 and change, so I'll count that as close enough. We'll go ahead and do it anyways. But if you haven't seen the breakdown of the original motor oil recipe, I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the upper right hand corner of the screen. And while you're there, hit that thumbs up button and put us over that 500 mark. What do you say? In that last motor oil video, I actually got several comments that were, I wouldn't say necessarily complaining, but there was definitely some frustration over, well, why would you show a recipe over something that can't be made due to the lack of, having an MF Jelly Red, as well as, well, just MF kind of shutting down and not doing colors anymore, period. Like, what was the point of that? And I think, well, the point of that really was to get the recipe out there and for all of you to be able to, now that you know the formula, kind of come up with your own formulations of that. And very similar to what this video is today. Here in my hand, I have one of the very last bottles of MF Blue Craw. This came from a batch that Jeff had, and he poured me a bottle during his move from Texas to Oklahoma and sent it with a lot of the other stuff you all saw me unbox on that live stream. So I'm very grateful and very blessed to have a bottle of the original MF Blue Craw. And this is one of those colors that, because of the lack of the original Jelly Red, it's just not around anymore. You cannot make it. And I'm telling you right now, this exact color cannot be reproduced. I have tried. I've gone through lots of cups of plastisol. Everything just ends up blending and turning to purple. And this is one of those colors that has even challenged, Jeff himself. He tried and tried and tried to replicate it and just couldn't get it right. Everything just kind of ends up turning purple. But fear not, because there is, in my opinion, an arguably better version of the original Blue Craw, and that is the Dead on Plastics Blue Craw. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the formula that's in the original Blue Craw, just again, so it's out there, so y'all can start to experiment on your own. But then I'm also going to share with you Chris Jones's recipe for the Blue Craw that is pretty spectacular. Chris has done 2 or 3 videos on this, so it's not like I'm giving away the farm or anything here. In fact, I'll put a link to Chris Jones's Blue Craw video in the upper right hand corner of the screen as well. You all should definitely go and check that out. But today, this is a chance where we can actually compare the original Blue Craw to the Blue Craw that's available today. I think this is going to be a pretty cool video just to see how the two compare. And the mold for today, oh, have I got a mold for you. The mold that we're going to be shooting today is going to be the Epic Bait Mold's 3.4 inch Glory Craw. Look at that, the ginormous 6 cavity version of the Glory Craw. I mean, is there a craw profile more glorious than this? I don't know. Measuring in at 3.4 inches, the Glory Craw is an amazing crawdad profile bait. Now, it's not the flappy craw that we all want. I know Jason's still working on it. I mean, any time now, brother. But the Glory Craw is an awesome, awesome profile. 3.4 inches. It looks amazing, used as a trailer on the back of a jig, and I've even had some good success with it, just rigged up with a 4-aught beast hook, flipping and punching out here on the Delta. Awesome, awesome stuff. Great little fantastic glorious craw profile. So we are going to take some amazing Blue Craw recipes, shoot them in an amazing craw profile mold. Hey, let's go have some fun. Come on, let's get to it. All right, so the ratio of colors used in the Blue Craw is what makes it pretty awkward and unique. Here, I'll hold the jar up. I've been very careful not to shake it too much. But if you look real closely, you can see that the ratio used here is 80% of MF's Jelly Red and 20% of the MF Blue number 32. I know, right? Blue 32. These two colors right here, the original Firetail Red and the original Blue 32. Now the blue is still around today, but obviously the Jelly Apple Red you can't get. But 80 to 20 ratio, that is it. 80 red, 20 blue. And you know, you would think red and blue, it's going to make purple, right? Well, ironically, somehow the way these colors interact, they just don't do that. You can see from holding up the jar how there's this clear separation there. Let me get to the back side. You can really see it right there. It's almost like oil and water. The blue, whatever that material is obviously more dense than the Jelly Apple Red dye that's used, so it sinks below and they do not meld or migrate together. They stay separate. When you let the jar sit, they separate into two very distinct colors. Again, it's like mixing olive oil and water. They just don't want to blend together. And that is the magic behind the MF's original Blue Craw. Now, I'm going to shake it up now, so we're not going to be able to get this separation again, but 80-20, that's the ratio if you happen to have these colors. Now, the closest thing that we can get to the MF Jelly Red is actually the Lureworks Jelly Apple Red dye, number 155. It is pretty darn close when it comes to the actual end result and color you get in the cup. However, the Jelly Apple Red just doesn't behave quite the same as the original Jelly Red dye has. And like I mentioned earlier, this is a color that Jeff has tried to replicate many times with many different Jelly Apple Reds and has not been able to reproduce it. Now, I've come very, very close. I've used some of the Blue 32 because you can still get this today. It's very common. It hasn't, you know, gone out of stock or anything like that. Maybe you can find it at Ziner's or Barlow's, other places that carry MF. But the Blue 32 has some very unique properties. Now, when I tried to mix the blue with the Jelly Apple Red from Lureworks in the same combination, 80 of the red, 20 of the blue, well, it didn't quite work out the way we wanted to. But I can tell you though, if you want yourself a pretty sweet, like dark purple chameleon color, you can do 40 drops of Jelly Apple Red and 30 drops of MF's Blue 32. Gives you a sweet chameleon. Or you could just save yourself some trouble and buy Lureworks Chameleon. It's the same thing, arguably a little bit better because it's in one jar instead of having to buy two colors. I've gotten close using the Jelly Apple Red. I've gotten close adding the red as well as some of the Blaze Orange, because the orange typically tends to turn brown when you add blue or black to it. So I tried a bunch of combos, folks. I got pretty close, but not as close as we're going to get to with the Dead On Plastics Blue Craw recipe. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But for right now, first up, we're going to go ahead and shake the bottle and we're going to show you the MF's Blue Craw. Now, I like to run it at 100 drops per cup, which is pretty thick and intense for an MF color. However, this is still a very, very translucent color, and I'll take you along the way. If I were to add the typical like 30-40 drops, it's just very see-through, very translucent, and this combination actually provides a beautiful turquoise blue. It's pretty cool. So what are we waiting for? I'm going to get the shaking, and we will start making some baits. All right, here we are, fresh cup of Plastisol, right out of the microwave, ready to go, and we have gotten our Blue Craw all shook up. You can see it's blended into one color right now. So here we go. I'll start you off small. Okay, we'll do 30 drops. All right, there we go, 30 drops. Now we'll start to mix this in here, and we will get a very turquoisey blue effect, and you can sort of see some brown in the middle. Not really. It just really, you don't get much of anything at all. It's very, very translucent, and you will get a little bit of reflection in the sunlight, but it's just not really deep enough of a color. So we'll add another 20 more. All right, let's add that in right there, and this is going to take us up to 50. And again, you'll see you're starting to get a little bit of a turquoise in there, but not much brown. It just looks like a more dark navy blue in the middle and a turquoise on the edge. So we're going to take you straight up now all the way to 100 drops. All right, there's another 50. So now we are at 100 drops total. Scrape the edges here, make sure we get everything mixed in. And now we're starting to get that deep blue in the translucency there, which is what we want to see. That's the color that we're going to get, what we see on the knife. That's what we're going to get on the small appendages that come off of the craw bait. And that dark kind of brown color in the middle is what we want, where it starts to get thick. If we come down to this angle here, you can see that deep blue on the knife and how it gets kind of a darker, very, slight brown tinge to the middle. It's not very pronounced, and you really don't see it until you get it into the bait. And you can even see on the knife there's a slight turquoise to a purplish hue almost, and I think that comes from the red and the blue. Yeah, very interesting. This is setting up, so we are going to spice it up a little bit with some flake in order to match the exact recipe that we're going to be making with our dead-on blue craw. And that's going to be 1/4 teaspoon of black flake, medium black flake, and then 1 dash, or I'm just going to go with a full scoop because I like it, of the small 0.015 blue flake. And then just for a little bit of added texture, I'm going to add this into both. I'm going to do a scoop of the small black flake as well. I just think that tiny black flake adds just the nicest amount of texture in there. And we are going to mix all this up together. It's starting to set up on me, but that black flake is really going to help bring out the dark colors. You can see some of the color transitioning happening there, that turquoise to dark blue, and I think that's really what gives the original MF Blue Craw its pizzazz, if you will, is that kind of turquoisey look that it has to it. Yeah, so there it is. Looking good, looking good. Oh yeah, we'll get you down close here too. Look at that close-up shot. Look at that. Turquoise to blue to purple, that flake really is what's going to make this color pop, I think. Alright, let's get it vacuumed and see what it looks like in some baits, huh? Alright, here we go. We are all vacuumed, fresh out of the microwave, nice and hot, ready to inject. And I tell you, it's amazing how many bubbles come out when you vacuum it. Even when it looks like there's no bubbles, there's always bubbles, and it's really going to clean up your color. Highly recommended. And as always, don't forget to glove up. Okay, here we go. Original MF Blue Craw in the 3.4 inch Glory Craw. Alright, it is a cold mold, so I do want to make sure we hold some pressure. We didn't do any kind of preheating there. Make sure to top it off because it will drink just a little bit. And that's what it looks like on the injector. You can see very light turquoisey blue coming through there when it's thin. Yep. We'll see if we get that brown to come out in those thick parts of the bait. Alright, are we ready to see what all the hype is about with the original MF Blue Craw? If we take a look at the sprue, you can see a little bit of brown there in the middle, that turquoisey blue on the outside edge. Here we go. Moment of truth. Can we get them all to come off on the same side? Yes, we can. And look at that. That's about the best lighting I'm going to get for you right there. Look at that. You get that nice brown in the center where it's meaty, and you get those light blue turquoise appendages. Really awesome stuff. This is the power of Blue Craw. I'm telling y'all, this is why this color here was sought after much more than the original motor oil. Here, let's get these out. I mean, look at that. That is so stinking cool, the way that Blue Craw does that brown. You can see through it too. Look, you can see clear straight through it. That's awesome. That's pretty awesome stuff. I mean, is that not a sweet craw profile or what? Look at those pinchers. Nice thick body on it. Awesome profile trailer. Great for pitching and flipping. Oh, if I could zoom in closer for you, I would. That is just an incredible brown and blue. Wow. But I know what you're saying. This is hard to replicate, Michael. What's the point of showing us this original Blue Craw recipe if we can't make it today? Well, I got news for you. If you don't own a bottle of Dead On's Blue Craw, you better go buy yourself one with the link down in the description right now, because we're about to show you how you can make a very similar, if not better color than this today. Let's take a look. All right, and what is this magical Blue Craw recipe that I speak of? Well, it is Chris Jones's Blue Craw recipe. And at the heart of that is Dead On Plastics Blue Craw. We are going to start off with 35 drops of the MF Blue Craw. In addition to that, we're also going to need a drop of black. I prefer to use LureWorks black. And to lean that color shift a little more to the blue, you're going to want to add 1 drop of any dark blue of your choice. I like to go with what Chris Jones uses, the LureWorks Phthalo Blue number 112. For flake, real easy here, 1/4 teaspoon of medium flake. You can use the 0.40 hex flake, or what I like to use is the 0.062 black square flake from LureWorks. And then last but not least, a dash all the way up to 1/16 if you really like it, of the Royal Blue 0.15 small flake from LureWorks. Combine all that together and you got yourself one heck of a Blue Craw recipe that is just as good, if not better, than the original MF Blue Craw. So let's whip up this color. We'll put some of these craws side by side so you can see the difference for yourself. All right, here we are with a fresh cup of Plastisol right out of the microwave, bubbles and all, but that's okay. We'll get those vacuumed out. Let's start off with our 35 drops of Dead On Plastics Blue Craw. All right, we will get this all stirred in here. And now with this, you definitely get that turquoise blue on the knife and around the outside edges, and you get a very distinct light color brown in the middle of the cup. So this really expresses that brown to blue color shift that we got going on here. But we're going to bring it a little more over onto the blue side, so we're going to add 1 drop of Phthalo Blue. There we go, just like that. And we are going to want to darken up that color shift a little bit, so we are going to add 1 drop of black. There we go. That thickens things up just a little bit for us. All right. Awesome stuff. Now let's go ahead and add our flake. All right, 1/4 teaspoon, which means 4 scoops of our 16th scooper for the medium black flake. Just to keep things even with the recipe we used earlier, we're going to do 1/16 of the small black flake because we like that micro texture in there. And then we're also going to do 1 full 16th scoop of the blue flake as well. Again, just to keep in comparison with the exact recipe that we used earlier. All right, let's get all this mixed in. That is some awesome, beautiful brown to blue color shift. Look at that. Very, very prominent brown in the cup, and then a very nice light blue on the stir stick there. Look at that. If I bring you down in for the close-up, you really get a view of it from this side angle here instead of the top down. It looks brown in the cup, but when you pull the knife out, you get that nice light blue color there. Awesome. Really, really prominent shift between the brown and the blue here with the dead-on Blue Craw. So let's get this vacuumed up and then injected, and then we can do a side-by-side comparison of the modern-day Blue Craw versus the MF Blue Craw. All right. Here we are, all vacuumed, ready to go. Gosh darn, that looks so good when everything is vacuumed out of it. Absolutely love it. All right, here we go. Dead On Plastics Blue Craw, the Chris Jones recipe, in the 3.4-inch Glory Craw. It will be interesting to get these compared side by side. I don't believe this has been done yet on the internet, so this should be a first. Super excited. There we go. She's gonna drink a little bit, so we gotta make sure to keep her topped off. Here's what it looks like on the injector. You can see a little more transparent. I mean, obviously we only have 35, 36 drops in there versus 100 on the other recipe, but definitely more prominent brown. Pretty cool. Really enjoy this color a lot. And I gotta tell you, I've been hooked on these square flakes lately. I was doing some zoom color matches, and now I just yeah, I don't know. I really dig it. I like the way that looks almost better than the hex flake. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, it is time. Let's compare. I mean, taking a look at the sprue, you can already see there's a lot of brown coming out in there. Awesome stuff. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's see, that's the belly, that's the back. Let's see if we can get these all to pop off on the same side here. There we go. Look at that. Huh? Look at all that chocolate chunk in there. Oh yeah. Definitely a dark brown to a light blue. I mean, you almost would think that that's a laminate. Transparent blue with a dark chocolate brown. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff right there. Yeah. All right, up close you can see how chunky thick that body is. And when those appendages get skinny, you can see the blue, but anywhere it's thick, you definitely get that nice darker brown look to it, just like a craw. Awesome stuff. All right, there we go. Beautiful dark version of a Blue Craw, translucent blue. Awesome stuff. You can see the flake really popping against that chocolate brown background. Very translucent blue appendages when you hold it up towards the light. Awesome stuff. Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's take a look at some of these side by side now. All right, so here we have MF's original Blue Craw over here on the right, and here on the left is Chris Jones's Dead On Plastics recipe. Now you can definitely see there's more blue in the joints, that turquoise blue over here on the MF side, but there's not as much brown you get in the body. Versus over here on the Dead On side, you definitely get that chocolate brown in the body, and you still get a lot of that blue coming through. It's not as intense, but you can always sway it a little more to the blue side, you know, by adding a little more blue over here. So, you know, there they are, side by side. The MF, definitely much more turquoise overall, and the Dead On Plastics is just a little more opaque, and that brown pops just a little more in terms of the color change. But that's looking pretty sweet. Both are awesome color combinations. Okay, I also want to show here real quick, when you hold both of these up to the light, you can see they both turn blue. And you definitely get more of that turquoise on the right there in the original MF, but you still get that light blue coming through when the light passes through the plastic. So I wanted to make sure to show that off here with the dead-on, that even though it looks like it's a darker, you know, brownish color here, more chocolatey, milk chocolate brown, it definitely turns blue when held up to the light. So I think that's pretty cool that you get that awesome color change effect here. Like I said, a much more drastic transition between the brown and the blue versus that over here on the original MF. You know, let me know in the comments section, what do you think is better? Do you like the original MF that has a little more blue in it, is not as much brown? Or do you like the dead-on that has a little bit darker brown and a little bit lighter on the blue when it comes to the claws? Let me know what you think. You know what to do in that comment section. Can't wait to have a good discussion over this one. MS Blue Craw versus dead-on Blue Craw. Awesome. Awesome stuff. All right, everybody, and there you have it, the battle of the Blue Craws. The MF Blue Craw versus the Dead-On Plastics new Blue Craw. Well, it's not even really a versus, it's just you can't get this anymore, and if it wasn't for Travis over at Dead-On, we wouldn't even have a replica of this color. So huge shout out to Travis for making a version of Blue Craw that we can get today. Now, I know there's lots of ways you can tweak this Blue Craw. Chris was alluding to some of that in his live stream, so maybe if we all, you know, drop enough likes on this video, we can convince Chris Jones to do a breakdown of Blue Craw and how to tweak it. You never know. And if you like this kind of content, please make sure to smack that thumbs up button. And hey, why are you not subscribed to the channel yet? I mean, I can see the analytics and I know that 43% of you are not subscribed to the channel. So I'm not sure what you're waiting for, because we got a deal going right now and subscriptions are free all month long. So make sure to smack that subscribe button, and hey, don't forget to tell a friend either, will ya? Well, until next time, everybody, y'all know who it is. Your friend on this end, Michael, out here around these Delta sloughs, reminding you to keep on chucking. I'll get back with you.